Hi, my name is Kendra Gibson. I'm a Michigan State University Extension community nutrition instructor. I work in Mason County, Michigan, and I want to share with you today some ideas for things that you can do in your garden to reduce your sodium intake. Many of us know that that's a really important part of our diet, that we get way too much sodium in the foods that we eat, mainly because many of them are processed now, but part of that is maybe what we add at the table with salt. One of the things I want to share with you today is the recommendation for sodium intake for the average American adult is 2,300 milligrams a day. And if you have a family history of high blood pressure or cardiovascular disease, it probably would be beneficial to even think about dropping it to 1,500 milligrams. I have an interesting visual for you to look at. This is 1.25 cups of salt in this container. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot, right? This is for a year, how much salt we should be taking in. But the average American actually consumes about 8.5 pounds a year. So this container, when you look at the difference, we are going way over what we should be taking in for salt. And the interesting thing is we don't think about it because it's hidden in our food and we don't notice it. So even if you're not adding salt at the table, you're probably getting more than you realize. But let's talk about herbs and spices. So when you are cutting back on your sodium intake, many times foods taste really bland. And a cool way that you can address that is by adding more flavor. Herbs and spices are awesome for that. Herbs and spices can be expensive. And so many times we go to the store and we maybe see something in a recipe, but we avoid it because it is so pricey. But you have the opportunity right now, whether it's in a container garden or you have space in a yard or out on your deck, to plant some herbs for this summer that you can just walk out your door, pick them, put them into your salads, put them into your baked products that you're making, or use it as a flavoring agent on your vegetables if you're cutting back on your sodium. These type of egg cartons are amazing for starting seeds because they are made out of cardboard and paper. They break down into the soil and you can actually separate out your seed compartments, cutting them apart. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Drop them into your soil and they will just become a part of your garden compost, right? And it will work through your garden system. So I'm going to show you some things that you can do with this and some things that I started a couple weeks ago. And when you think about herbs and spices, having a variety in your garden. So we think about onions and garlic and ginger, but also basil. You can make so many things out of basil. You can put it in pasta, a lot of Italian dishes. Also, you can make pesto with basil. You can freeze it. Michigan State University Extension has a video for how to dry your herbs out at the end of summer so that you don't have to waste them and you'll have them in through the winter months as well. But also things like marjoram and oregano, parsley, rosemary, sage, thyme. And you can do your own blends and mix those things together and have an amazing opportunity to flavor your food in a different way. So let me show you what I created. I am not a master gardener, but I am super excited this year to try to learn. So this is an egg crate that I saved, carton, and I put some basil seeds in there and you can see how well they're doing. I keep them in a plastic container because as you start to wet this soil and plant these seeds, this egg carton starts to break down pretty quickly and it becomes soft and it leaks a little bit. So I set these by the window every day, or as the weather warms up, I start setting them outside for an hour or two and then bring them in the evening. But these are pretty much ready to start to drop into the soil. So that is one opportunity for you. If you have children in the house, this is a fun idea too, where children can see how seeds germinate and they can watch the root system, count how many days it takes for it to germinate. And these are basil seeds as well. So if you look in there, you can see they've started to sprout. And what this is just a plastic cup with 3 cotton balls, not synthetic balls, but cotton balls, and a paper towel in the center. And I rolled that up, put it down, and then I moistened all of this in my cup and dropped my seeds in. And I have a bag that I drop this in. It kind of acts like a greenhouse. And so I close it except for about an inch. And you'll see in the morning there's moisture in here, and it just starts to create a warm, cozy environment for these seeds to start to germinate. During the day, I open it up a little bit, let some of that moisture out, set it by the window so that it starts to get some light. Over the weekend, I took it outside because it was a sunny day, a sunny weekend, and I was able to get a little bit more light onto them. But these are becoming pretty ready to be set into soil. And again, because these are cotton balls, you actually can put these right into your soil as well, and they will break up into the soil. So it keeps these really fragile plants together as you try to transition them. So let me show you how this works. And I brought some things from outside that I had from last year. So here's my soil. I added a little bit of water just to re-moisturize that. And I also have some old pots in my garage. So if you have children, a really great thing, they could paint these pots and make them super fun on your deck or patio or whatever situation you have. And they can be a part of that. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get my handy scissors. I'm taking my egg carton and I am beginning to carefully cut these little cells apart. So there you go. I have 1, 2, I'm gonna take this, 3 and 4. And so when you look at my planter, that's beautiful already. And I put a few extra seeds in each one of these compartments. So as they start to get bigger, you might need to thin them out a little bit so you give room for your plants to grow. But all I'm gonna do now is take my fingers and dig a little hole, set this down in there and work my soil around it. And you can see how that's starting. So easy. Whoa, my other plants just rolled over. So easy, right? Your children can help you with this. And we're gonna work our way all the way across. I'm gonna drop these in super quick. See if I can get them covered up a little bit. Basil, these are actually basil plants. I think I mentioned that. And basil is one of my favorites to plant every year. I freeze it. You can actually take basil leaves and chop them up and put them in the blender with some olive oil and put them into ice cube trays. And then you can add that into your soups or your pasta sauces. Just take those ice cube trays when they're frozen and pop those little cubes into Ziploc bags, and you have flavoring that you can use throughout the summer and winter months. So I'm gonna just sink this in. Oops, I just covered up my one little guy here. Oh no, that's what happens, right? So we have one that I kind of took care of here, but you can see that I have those planted, and I'm gonna water those down and give them a chance to take off a little bit. Also in this pot, I'm gonna take one of my cotton balls, and it's already wet. I can feel it, it's pretty wet because I watered it last night. I just take my finger and I make a well in the top of that. My soil's falling back in there, but you understand how that works. And I'm gonna drop these little fragile plants in there. I'm gonna kind of protect them right now because they're actually a little smaller than I would like. And I drop them in. As they start to grow up a little bigger, I'll keep working my soil around those. And You can tell this one has a little bigger plant. So let them get a little bit bigger so they're a little more substantial, but then you can drop them in there and water them in once you set them into your soil, because my soil is pretty dry right now. And you have an herb garden started. The thing I love about herb gardening is, again, your kids can be involved at all levels, and they're going to be interested in tasting these things. You can taste the basil leaves by themselves and see what that tastes like before you put it into a sauce. How does it change and evolve as you mix it in and use it in different salads and dressings and dishes? The other thing is letting your kids help you label your garden. This is just a popsicle stick, and your child could color that. Where this says basil, they stick it in here and they can keep an eye on it. If you don't have popsicle sticks, plastic silverware works too, and that says basil on there as well. So I'm gonna stick it in my other container so that I remember what I planted as it goes. Last thing that I want to share with you that was just kind of a fun thing that I did on the side is that you can also plant other things from seeds and watch them grow and let your children watch that. So having plastic containers that you recycle, make some holes in the bottom. And this is actually spinach, and this is actually lettuce. And this is just an old bottle. I made some holes in the bottom. And again, as these plants start to mature, they can start to see the root system in these plants and learn, how does food come from that little tiny seed and then expand, and what is on the bottom? If it's a carrot, the fact that we eat the carrot that's under the soil, but you can also eat the greens on the top. So there's so much education that we can do with our children to get them excited about trying new foods. But I want to challenge you to consider growing some herbs this summer. They're super easy, probably one of the easiest things that you can do in your garden. And sometimes even the quality of the soil doesn't have to be as high level as it does with some other things. And so you will probably have great success. And I want to challenge you to move away from adding so much salt, adding more flavor with your herbs and spices, and see how that transitions what you eat this summer. The way food tastes, how fresh it is, and maybe it will create a new excitement with some of your favorite dishes. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for watching. Like this video and subscribe to our channel to see more content. We would love to hear your feedback through the survey link in the show notes.